Yo, what's up, you guys? I haven't shown my face on camera. It's been a while. It feels a little strange. Excuse the poor quality. I'm recording off my Mac. Left my camera at my boy's house. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think I just recorded, to this date, probably my favorite video I've made. This is some heavy stuff. I talked about neurology. I talked about consciousness. I talked about some heavy stuff that really, if you listen and you make sense of this information, you can double down on whatever you want to do in life and really 10x your life for you to gain that confidence, for you to become successful. And I hate saying that, but in all truth, it just comes down to awareness and knowing. And in fact, that's what the main root of the video is you're all knowing and how it connects neural pathways and all this crazy stuff. You're going to watch the video. I'm putting this in the intro. I'm going the extra mile for this video. And I know I made a little stumbles here and there in the video. Pardon me, but I guarantee this video is worth your time. Okay? So, good to see you guys. Good to be back on camera. And I really, genuinely hope you enjoy this video and watch all the way through, please. I guarantee you will love it. Alright? So, it's your boy Tinted, and I hope you enjoy this one, alright? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope you're doing great. And I hope you're ready to learn some heavy stuff, but some good stuff. Okay? So, I can already tell, my intuition is telling me this is going to be one of my favorite videos that I've made today, because I'm going to be literally illustrating my intuition. And speaking of intuition, yesterday I finished reading a good book, and it says intuition is just building your expertise knowledge, like in the subconscious manner. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert, and when I'm going to be talking about heavy stuff, I'm literally going to be talking about the brain, consciousness, philosophical, abstract stuff, right? But I've gotten enough information that I can perceive and view things in a completely different manner, and I can view it in a unique perspective. I'm pretty sure I have a unique POV, and I literally illustrated this stuff. I did it yesterday, but I didn't get down to make the video till today. But literally, you guys, this is going to be some heavy stuff. It's in the abstract area, but I have concrete evidence, the neurology, the brain, the study of the brain, on how this stuff really works. This is cognitive science, the way we think in the subconscious manner. The behind the scenes of our brain, our engine. So, I got this video ready, or I'm going to make it ready, prep it up for you. And what we're going to be talking about, and you can see in front of me, I have this little ball right here, right? And this ball, it doesn't essentially mean anything, but I'm going to call it, this is your all-knowing, right? This is where all the information you have in your brain is stored. This is what makes up your knowledge, your wisdom, your consciousness, even your awareness. All of this is in here, right? This little circle, this is what it represents. Now, right, there's the philosophical debate of what makes consciousness, what part of the brain represents consciousness. Now, I can't say what area. Descartes, he said it was in the center of the brain. That's where the consciousness is dictated. Well, practical stuff like the brain and neurology, we can format it, and with the MRIs we can see some stuff, but we haven't came down to a really concrete answer. Where is consciousness? What even is consciousness in the sense of what we think of it? So this is just going to illustrate this, and imagine it's somewhere in your brain. It's part of your brain, and it's also your brain, because your brain is your thinking engine. So you think, you act, and then you get, right? So what you see on the side right here, these crazy looking atom things, is called neuro channels. This is where information from the brain goes to other parts of the brain and makes sense out of it, right? Like these senses, these neurons are traveling from my prefrontal cortex to my amygdala, etc., etc. So the brain is a big part. It's a big city. It's a big map, and these neurons, they have to go from point A to point B, and all of this is your information. Now, this is where it's gonna get crazy. Okay, I don't want to overwhelm you, but if I zoom out completely, it's gonna just throw everything out of context. So we zoom out a little bit, we can see that I have a pretty big setting right here. Okay, so this is what I drew out yesterday, and I know it's a lot. This is why I didn't want to open up, because you're like, what the heck? What's going on? So we'll start off simple. Let's zoom in over here. Okay, remember I said that this is your all-knowing part, right? Your everything, your all-knowing knowing. And what this does really is make sense of the information that you know, and from a subjective manner it creates it into objective manner. Subjective, it means like it's personal, like the way I view happiness, or what is happiness to me, is subjective, versus a rock laying on the ground, that's objective. You see the difference? One is more in the mind, and one's like literally right there, concrete. So this information, it starts off subjective, and then it makes a transition to become objective. And right here where these lines separate, these are just different areas, different types of knowings, right? We got like math, emotion, knowing about emotion, psychology, wisdom, knowledge, history, consciousness, and I read this question mark for whatever you want to think, right? These are all knowing areas of our knowing. And this is where it gets interesting. In fact, this is where I want to bring up my cognitive neurology information that I got. And these channels right here, they create a cognitive bias called the use it or lose it bias. And essentially what it means is the more fond, or the more hours you learn into an area. For example, let's say I'm a psychologist, right? I went to school, I did everything, so I know a lot about psychology. So literally this channel, my channel with psychology, from my knowing to the objective field of psychology, is very firm. It's strong. You see how it's like very, very fond, like strong. It's concrete. And let's say my field with math, I'm a psychologist, but I'm not very good at math. I'm just going to make another one so you guys can see the illustration. It's going to be weak. You see the connection is not very strong. And this applies to very different areas of life. This is what makes life interesting, because there's so much to learn, yet we're never going to learn everything. But you can be an expert in some areas. But even they throw the debate, experts, they don't really know anything. But we can admit some people know more than others. Anyways, so let's say I'm a really good psychologist, right? And my knowing, my neural path right here between psychology and my knowing is very firm. I'm going to have a strong foundation. And the yellow line right here, it represents foundation. This foundation between my knowing and the objective field of psychology is very firm. But this is where the use it or lose it cognitive bias comes in. Let's say I retire from being a psychologist. I don't read up on it. I don't implement it in my daily life. I don't evaluate everything in a psychological perspective. I just forget about it. And years go by, right? Now, it's not going to completely fade away, but here's what happens. Literally, our brain stops processing information about that, and it starts losing its competence. The foundation starts to eradicate. And this is what happens. You see, it's very firm, but as you stop using it, it starts dispersing. And you get to a point where it's so far out there that you don't really know anything. You might have been a psychologist, but if you stop being in the psychology field and then you continue on give your brain long enough time, you're not going to really know anything. And this is where life gets interesting, because you can double down, you can give all your time to some areas of life, but literally if you stop going into that area, for example, me making this video, me trying to articulate my words, when I first started with I'll use the question mark sign, all right, my YouTube skills to speak. When I first started, I had a really weak foundation. It was weak, but as I kept practicing, as I kept making it a habit to be conscious of my wording, my knowing with my brain, my neural pathways became very concrete with this, my YouTube skills part of the brain, the part that I need for the skill. In fact, I learned the word, my friend told me the word exact, it's like word skis or something like that. That's part of the brain that controls speaking. So my word skis part of the brain, excuse me if I'm saying it wrong, it got a strong foundation. But recently there's a gap where I wasn't practicing, I wasn't making as much content, and my foundation, I felt it myself, it was slowly eradicating, it was slowly fading away. You see, this is true. This is not made up sense. This is, you can't say, Tin, you're crazy. This is real stuff. This is some higher end information that, in fact, these past couple years in my life, I've been in the trenches, I've been experiencing it, but more than anything, I've been aware that I'm on the lookout for stuff like this to happen to me so I can make sense out of it. And like I said, these are just areas that relate to my life. I just threw out some of, like, for example, history. I'm pretty weak at history, so my foundation, my knowing from my foundation, it's a weak link. Therefore, I don't know much in history, but that's not my strong point. More of my strong points into psychology, cognitive, relativity, emotion. I try to strengthen my wisdom. I'm not that great at math, but you see what I'm trying to say? Your knowing really makes these connections, and this is where it comes down to be self-aware. Now that's for a whole nother talk, but become self-aware, double down on whatever field you want to learn, and then build this foundation to be as strong as possible. There's a saying, be so good they cannot ignore you. Be so good they cannot ignore you. Let that sink in. Build this foundation so strong that it becomes to this objective world that other people are taking notice. They're like, oh man, this guy's really good at math. Or, whatever field that may be. Maybe you're not good at math, and maybe you're good at spreading consciousness. You want to teach meditation. Whatever it may be. This is really, really what it comes down to. Okay, so this is heavy stuff, guys. We spent a good time on neurology, consciousness, what is consciousness, subjective, objective talks. But all in all, this can give you an upper hand if you feel lost, if you feel confused on some things, or maybe you're just curious and you just want to learn something interesting. So there it is, guys. I hope I did a good job articulating it from my mind. I hope I did a good enough job illustrating it. I know that it's like, whoa, what's going on? There's a lot being thrown at you, but I hope it makes sense to you. Okay, so all in all, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do, let me know. If you're one out of those 10 people that watch my videos, text me, yo, Tim, this was a banger. Tim, this was a great video. Leave a comment. I check those up if there's any. But all in all, I appreciate you guys, really. I really do. You guys are the reason that I take the time to make content out of this. I take the time out of my day to make something out of this. And there it is, guys. Alrighty, so with your all-knowing, build your strong foundation. Be so good they cannot ignore you. Build the virtues. Get those virtues. Reap your rewards. Live your good life. Become happy. Live your life with a purpose. And then you can die a happy person. Alright, guys. Talk to you soon.